What's going on YouTube? This is Ribo at the bench, and today I have, I guess, another ramble. Today talking about the SKX line of watches that you see in front of you. If you've ever watched really any of my channel videos, at least the ones on watches, you'll probably know that I am a huge SKX fan. The 007 was my first real automatic watch and is still my favorite watch to this date. But I love the SKX line, and I have all of them, at least the main three, which are the 007, the 009, and the 011. And so I thought maybe I would just do kind of a side-by-side on all of these. If you are looking to get an SKX, if you're, wanting to complete the trio, or you're looking for your first watch or whatever, sometimes it helps to just see a video where everything is side by side and you can kind of compare and contrast. So it's not really head to head. It's not really a review because I've reviewed the SKX before I reviewed the 011. I guess I need to do a review of the 009, but they're all pretty much the same watch. But I thought that it might be fun just having them on the same, view screen or whatever, so that you can kind of see them side by side. We'll point out a couple things that are non-standard across these. So the 007 is totally like it was out of the box, no mods or anything. It is on a leather NATO that is buckleless right now. I have two leather NATOs the same size that I made myself, and I only have one. I need to order another buckle so I don't have this issue, but I flipped the buckle between them, so sorry about that. But I know that it's heresy to have a diver on leather, and so you'll have to forgive me for that. But I really would never wear this watch diving anyway, so not a huge deal for me. You'll also see that I have a scratch right there on the crystal. So that was done on an Appalachian trail hike that I took earlier this year. Random Rob actually sent me an Erica's Original strap to review on the trip, and I was wearing that strap on this watch when I scratched it. I still to this day don't really know how I scratched it. It's pretty deep and pretty long scratch there. So at some point I'll have to get the crystal replaced, but there you go. I've had this watch for several years, really like it. It's like I said, it's my favorite watch, just sentimental reasons, and also I just think that dial is just amazing. Just that flat black, just everything about it. I'll talk a little bit about this in a bit, but there you go. So this is pretty standard. Also, the coasters here, I do sell them. I think they're pretty cool. I have stickers as well. I'll put a link below to the eBay site if you want to pick some of these up. I just, it's something I thought would be cool for myself, so I made some for me, and then I thought other people might like them too. And so, I did list them for sale. I sell them on Instagram a little bit, and I guess I can put a link to my Instagram account, which is Watch Rambler. But this is like the 009. They're pulp board. They won't last forever, but I thought those are pretty slick, especially when you have a cup on that. I think that just looks pretty cool. So that's what you're seeing there. Okay, so on the 009 here that you're seeing, this does have one mod, and I bought it like this. So I bought it from somebody, and they did, and you can probably tell, they had the crystal replaced. So this is a sapphire AR-coated crystal. You can see it's very, very clear. Let me put this up side by side with the 007. You can see that kind of bluish purple AR coating a little bit, kind of when the light hits it just right. It is an incredibly clear crystal, and I like it a lot. You can do a test on these, the water bead test. Maybe I'll do that video at some point where you drop water onto the crystal, and depending on whether or not it beads up and kind of how it moves on the crystal, you can tell if it's sapphire or not, which is pretty cool. But so this one does have that one mod. Apart from that, it is on this stock Jubilee bracelet. I think this Jubilee actually came with my 007. This one came, I think, on the rubber, but I had an Erica's Original that was perfect for this. It was the blue with the red stripe, and it had a little bit of orange stitching. I ended up selling that, and that was, it was a great strap. But for whatever reason, this watch, I own 20 watches. I rotate through them constantly. I have an vintage Omega. I have very nice Hamilton, all kinds of different watches. This one, absolutely, without a doubt, gets the most compliments from non-watch people. Just about every time I wear this watch, which is all the time, I get a compliment on it. And I think it's because of two things. I think one, the Pepsi bezel here catches the eye. That is just such a nice shade of red there. And when this thing kind of catches the right light and that blue pops a little bit in that red, it's just a very eye-catching watch. And then when you combine that with a Jubilee bracelet, Jubilee to me just looks luxury. It's a little bit flashier, very, very comfortable. I mean, people hate on the SKX bracelets all the time, but I love them. They're very jangly and cheap, but they're super, super comfortable. I think they look just absolutely stellar on the 009. I just don't take this off. I think it's the perfect bracelet for this watch. It gets tons of compliments. I think it just looks really well. You can kind of dress it up or dress it down. Pretty much looks good with everything. So I really like that. But other than that, this thing is totally stock and very nice. You can see actually the end links are pretty, they don't fit exactly right. But one of the kind of joys of this watch is that it doesn't pretend to be what it's not. It's an inexpensive, practical watch, and it's a tank. And that's all it is, and it does its job. I think it does it very well, and kind of that's what that's about. So you can see that very nice flat dial. That's another thing that I absolutely love about the SKX line. You can see that right there. It's actually something that I did not like when I first got into watches, but it's something I've really grown to love. And then you can see, just like on the 007, you have that very nice edge to the loom, so that when you actually have this loomed up, and I should have grabbed a flashlight. I don't think, oh wait, I do have a flashlight. See if I can shine this up a little bit. Let's see, there we go. So you can see you have that very nice edge that gives you an outline on each loom indice, which is very nice. And so overall, just very nice looking watch. And then finally, we have the loudest of the SKX, or at least the main three. And this is the SKX 011. Now, this does not come with this bracelet. This is an Uncle Seiko Beads of Rice bracelet. Maybe the most comfortable bracelet that I've ever worn, and definitely I will be picking up another one of these for my turtle. My turtle here is also on an Uncle Seiko, but this is the Oyster. Incredibly comfortable bracelet. I think it looks very, very nice. It's similar to the 009 and on the Jubilee here, but a little bit different, and I really like it. Obviously the most obvious comparison of this is the Doxa. Whichever model you want to pick, it just looks like a Doxa. But I think it's its own watch. It is definitely one of a kind for a couple reasons. And I guess while I do that, let me do a side-by-side of these two as well. You can see it's almost the inverse of the 007. Yeah, so this is a very nice watch. This is one that I kind of put off buying for the longest time. I really wanted to complete the trifecta of SKXs. However, and I guess I could show I haven't shown the case back of any of these, but you have that nice wave. I'm not an orange fan. I'm a Gamecock fan in the South. So Clemson are our rivals, and I kind of hated orange since I was a kid. I kind of got into the whole dive watch thing and the dive thing, and orange is obviously an important color there. And when I finally ordered this, I totally get it. I absolutely love this watch. I've said before, I think in my review, that the other thing that I think turns a lot of people off is the orange. I'm sorry, not the orange. The gold. Highlights around here, and then also the gold hands that you have there, the outline gold hands. And I don't know if you can see this right here, but in typical light, like right there, you don't really notice the gold hands. You kind of will get a glint every so often, but they're not blazingly gold. And the gold on the outer bezel here actually ties in a lot better, I guess, with the watch than I would expect, and really than I think shows in pictures. I think this watch doesn't photograph quite as nice, or even take video quite as nice as it looks in person, because this looks like it's popping so much, but in reality, if I'm looking not through the viewfinder on the video, but just in person here, that plays in very nicely with the dial, and it's hard to describe if you haven't seen one. But you have the same very nice flat. It's gonna be hard to get on here, but you have that same very nice flat dial color, just a really nice orange color, kind of a flat orange. It's not too noticeable. Definitely pops more than the others, and you have obviously you can see that Arabic dial right there. This guy looks really cool when it's loomed up, because you have that really nice green color loom with the orange dial and the black. You can see that right there. That just looks kind of like radioactive or something. It's really cool color combinations, just a lot going on there. And that looks really cool. And then you add that with a bracelet. I think a lot of times people overdo this watch by doing it on, orange NATOs, which does look cool, but, doing stripes and stuff. But I've always held to the theory that, like with watches, something like the 007, you want to put this on a crazier strap maybe, because it's a flat dial. It doesn't have a lot going on. Something like this has a lot going on, and so doing it just on a bracelet, it really kind of lets the watch pop. That's really nice. So those are the three SKXs, or at least the three most popular ones. These are, I think, the only three that really hold all elements together. These two are the most similar because you have that silver accent on the bezel, and you have a white outline around each loom dot. So you can see these are pretty much the same thing, with just a color change between the black and then the blue and Pepsi red. And then this obviously is different in that it has the gold accents. The other difference between these is the color of the second hand. You have black here, and then you have white on both the 007 and 009. But apart from that, really the only thing that differentiates these is the color. It's the same movement, same case, same water resistance, same everything. These are both K models, so these are, I believe it's Malaysia, made in Malaysia, I think. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that. This is a J model, and I believe that the 011 only comes in a J model. I don't think there's a K version. I could be totally wrong about that. But the thing that I've noticed that's the most difference is the bezel. The bezel is a lot easier to turn here. It's a lot different tactically than either of these two. It's a little bit stiffer here, but still very nice. And on the 007, it's a little bit stiffer. So it's stiffest, this is a little bit looser, and then this is probably the loosest, although I wouldn't say it's necessarily loose. But these definitely turn a little bit more similar than this one. And then that's really all that I noticed that's any different. I probably prefer the bezels on these, just they don't tend to get knocked kind of out of alignment quite as easily. Other than that, I really don't notice any difference between the K version and the J version, besides kind of what's printed on the dial. I guess I could show that. You have made in Japan down there. There we go. And then obviously you have the Divers 200 on both of them, but then you have 21 joules on the J version. All right, so other things, I guess I can tell a quick story. The thing that got me into the SKX line, when I first got into watches, my grandfather, well, going back to when I was a kid, I've liked watches and knives, but wasn't really into watches. I can remember when I was a kid having like a Fossil dive watch that had a bezel that turned, and thought that was cool, and I had like a Timex Iron Man and that kind of thing. But when my grandfather passed away, he was a big fan of watches, and he left me, a lot of his collection, and so I have some of his watches, and that really got me interested in automatic watches because he was an engineer, and he was very mechanically minded. He actually used to build pocket watches and repair them and that kind of thing, so he was always taking stuff apart. when he passed away, I kind of started picking up the hobby a little bit, researching, getting interested. He funnily enough had an Invicta in his collection when he passed, maybe a few, but he had a lot of Seikos as well, some Hamiltons. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, so I kind of started picking up the hobby and really got into it, and I was kind of looking to spend some money, and I wanted to spend under $200, which is not a lot of money for an automatic watch, but for me, buying a watch, when I was used to, Casios and Timex and that kind of thing, this was my first real money put into watches. And so I started researching. I forget if I was on the forums at that point. I don't think I was, but I started reading some things, started watching some YouTube videos, got into, urban gentry and all these different things. And the SKX 007 is a watch that just kept popping up, and everyone kept saying, this is the watch that, is a great kind of beginner, great first automatic that, this, you can't really go wrong. And I kept looking at this watch, and I didn't get it. I had a buddy who was into watches, and he said, yeah, this is a great one. And I kept looking at it, and I just didn't really get it. There's a couple things about it that drove me absolutely insane. You have this orange here on the dial. Now, I told you my feelings on orange at that time, and I thought the dial is just kind of plain. It's just black and white, and then you have this weird thing here that's orange that just kind of throws off the black and white, and I don't know, it just doesn't really do it for me. You have this very weird bezel with, I didn't really get it. But I kept researching, and I, looked at lots of different watches. My personality, I tend to over-research things. So I just kept researching, and everybody kept coming back to the 007. So I kind of decided, I don't know everything about watches. I trust people more than I trust myself. And if I want something that, I want to keep, I want to enjoy, I'll kind of take their word for it, and I'll give it a try. So found a good deal on one of these, picked it up. When I first got it, I thought, yeah, this is a really cool watch. I liked it a lot better in person than I did before. But there were still some things that I just didn't really love about it. The orange on the dial, and also the flat nature of that dial. I thought, man, why can't it just be a fully black, just kind of inky black dial? I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I liked the watch a lot, but then there were still some things I just wasn't a fan of, but I wore it all the time. It was my first real watch. And so, over the next couple months to years, I just absolutely fell in love with this watch. Everything that I disliked about it became some of my favorite things about it. The dial being a flat dial and not inky black is now one of my favorite things, because I think it's going to age beautifully, and you get the different kind of color plays in different lights. I think the orange divers is a really cool thing on it now. You have that on each one of these. It looks the goofiest on here, but still pretty cool, just because you have all these different colors going on. But just everything that I didn't like about it, I started to kind of fall in love with, and it just became my favorite watch. I mean, the 007 is an absolute strap monster. You can wear this on any kind of bracelet that you can find. You can wear it on NATOs, leather NATOs, wear it on Erica's Original, wear it on Watch Steward all the time. Love his stuff. Have lots of NATOs that go with this. Wear it on rubber straps. Any kind of rubber strap, it looks great on. I've hiked with this watch. I've done a lot with this watch. I bought this right around the time my son was born. So that's kind of what I think about when I wear it. But it just has become one of my favorite watches. And so as much as I love this, I thought, can I really justify buying the same watch in just a different color combination? I thought it was ridiculous, so I didn't do it for the longest time. And finally I decided, I love this watch so much. There's no way that I'm going to dislike this watch. So why don't I just, give it a try, and if I don't like it, I can always sell it. So then I picked up this watch, and I got it and realized they had swapped the crystal out, which was really cool. And so I have this nice sapphire crystal, gives it some extra kind of light play right there, where you can see that purple AR coating. And this on the Jubilee, I just fell in love with, because it just, It feels like a more expensive watch. I think it looks like a more expensive watch. It's just a very nice color. Who doesn't love a nice Pepsi bezel? That's just really, really cool. Started to get a lot of compliments on this, and then this became one of my favorite watches as well. And this one's on the wrist probably more than the 007 is, although the 007 is still my favorite watch. And so, then I kind of fell in love with the 009. And so after that, I thought, I don't love orange, so I don't really want a 011, but it's probably one that I should get. And so I started looking for good deals, and just put it off for the longest time because it was the most expensive SKX because it is a J model and it's a little bit more rare. It's also the one that you see the least, on Instagram, that kind of thing. There are people with them, but you definitely see these more often. These are kind of the gold pair of the SKX lineup. Apologies for the helicopter or airplane flying over. Yeah, we're right near the airport, so that happens. But so I started looking out for this guy, and I finally found a good deal. I messaged a couple people and kind of got their thoughts, and they all said it's way better in person. It is an awesome watch, and you should check it out. So bit the bullet and pulled the trigger on this, and the second that I pulled it out of the box, I knew this was going to be one of my favorite watches as well, and then I'd probably never sell this one. This absolutely punches above its weight class, and it's much different in person, I think, than you see in pictures online. And so even though I'm not a huge orange fan, this has become one of my favorite watches. This dial is my picture on different social media because I just think it's such a unique, just very, very different dial, really cool. This doesn't really look like anything else. I said it's a little bit Doxa-like, but this is its own thing. And so I've just fallen in love with the SKX lineup, the handset, the markers, your kind of scuba tank, 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock with that triangle at the 12 o'clock. It's just functionally everything that you want in a watch. I mean, you really don't need any more than this. I know people harp about the movement and everything, but at the end of the day, these watches are just incredible, and I really like them. So I hope this was helpful to you. I don't know if it was, but it was fun for me to kind of talk about falling in love with this line of watches. This is typically what's on my wrist, this or a turtle. These 4 watches comprise 95% of my wrist time. So anyway, hope you liked it. Leave a comment below telling me why you love the SKX lineup or what got you into it. I would love to read through those, and I'll see you next time.